Hello, I'm Fang, and welcome to the first episode of Midficiency. This is a series of videos where I'm going to complete content in old school RuneScape as efficiently as I can, but without the use of alts or really sweaty methods in order to achieve some specific goals. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the infamous Abyssal Sire. Sire is known for being reasonable GP and XP per hour. However, the top methods require an alt or even multiple alt accounts in order to achieve the most kills per hour. In this video, I'll be breaking down the method I used to kill the Abyssal Sire without using any ults or a ton of supplies or even a lot of mental energy, while still achieving a good amount of kills per hour as well. In true Midficiency style, we'll do it all in one take, starting with the requirements and recommended unlocks, followed up with the gear in my inventory and some possible replacements as well, and I'll follow up with a couple of example kills just to show the method itself in action. There's only two definite requirements to kill the Abyssal Sire, and that is 85 Slayer and an Abyssal Demon Task. However, two things I really recommend having before you would come here are 88 Magic and access to Fairy Rings as well. Otherwise it's just going to slow you down, and this particular method I'll show you today won't work. Lumberjade Elite Diary is something that I really recommend having as well, just so that you don't have to use the drama and stuff to go through the Fairy Ring itself. And of course having the rejuvenation pool in the play-around house is going to help out a lot with this method. I'm going to take a look at the mage gear first. That's what we're going to use to kill the respiratory system. It's a pretty basic sort of pseudo max mage setup, I guess, with Tumeken's Shadow, Occult Necklace and Ancestral top and bottom, as well as Tormented Bracelet and the imbued Zamorak Cape as well. I just camped the melee boots and ring. I don't see a real reason to bring Eternal Boots or a Seer's Ring for this particular boss, and I just camped the Redder's Blessing 4 as well for a little additional prayer bonus, although it's not really required. Of course the Slayer helmet because we're on task. If you don't have the Shadow, Sanguinesti Staff is a perfectly viable alternative, and if you don't have the Ancestral top and bottom, I recommend just camping the melee gear, since the accuracy, whilst it might help with something like Arims, it's not going to provide you much overall benefit, and it will make your switches smaller and easier. However, without the Tormented Bracelet and Occult Necklace, I wouldn't even recommend maging at all. Something like a Blowpipe or a Crystal Bow would do instead. In terms of melee gear, I have the Fang, the Torture, the Fire Cape and the Ferocious Gloves, the Bandos Chestplate, which will be a Torva Plate Body hopefully very soon, Torva Plate Legs, and the Avernic Defender. A good replacement, or a cheap replacement I suppose, for the melee gear would be a Fighter Torso and maybe a Verex skirt or something like that, just for a little bit of extra defense. As well as Ferocious Gloves, you could just camp Barrow Gloves. Of course, if you had an Infernal Cape, you would wear that. And then for the Fang is better than the Arclight, but it is more expensive, of course, with the Arclight being free. So if you want to use the Arclight here, it's perfectly acceptable. The other option is a Scythe of Vitor as well. If you bring a Scythe, it's really recommended to bring defense-reducing special attacks, such as a Dragon Warhammer or Bandos Godsword, in order to help out with your accuracy with the Scythe as well. The potions I bring are just simply 2 Divine Super Combats. Of course, you can bring as many as you want for a trip as long as you want. I used to just bring one and do 20-minute trips and then go do something else, but 40 minutes, pretty reasonable nowadays. Teleport to House Tabs or a Construction Cape are going to be required for this method as well. Inside my rune pouch, I have Blood, Air, Soul and Death runes to allow me to cast Shadow Barrage, and I also have an Imbued Heart to help out with my mage accuracy and max hit against the respiratory system as well. I'll go through the fight very briefly. In phase 1, you have to attack the respiratory system, kill all 4 of the lungs around the room. In order to access them without getting hit by the tentacles, you've got to stun the Abyssal Sire using Shadow Barrage. This is the tile I like to start on. You can cast Shadow Barrage and walk back here, and on long range with a Sanguinesti Staff or the Tumeken's Shadow, you can attack the respiratory system immediately without being hit by the tentacles. From there, each of the tile markers closest to the lungs are good spots for long ranging with the Sanguinesti Staff. They're slightly different with the Tumeken's Shadow, but you can generally just click the respiratory system, and you're going to be safe with this weapon since it has additional range over the Sanguinesti Staff. In phase 2, the Abyssal Sire will spawn. This is when we'll switch into our melee gear, and we'll pray the melee overhead with Piety as well. We're going to be looking out for 3 different attacks. He'll either attack with his regular melee attack, which the Protect melee will reduce most of the damage from, or he can spawn poison underneath us. If he spawns poison underneath us, we simply have to move 2 tiles away, and it can't damage us. Or he can spawn his little scions as well. When those spawn, I tend to ignore them during phase 2, since he's gonna be spawning a lot of them throughout the fight, so you can just pray against them anyway. Once we get the Abyssal Sire down to half HP, he's gonna move back to this location here, and these are the 4 really important mark tiles. These tiles allow us to attack the Abyssal Sire, the 2 front ones, and the back 2 are where I like to move in between attacks so that I can drop poison on the back row sometimes. It just means it's a little bit safer than your landing zone for landing the poison. I'm going to be starting phase 3 always from this southeast tile. And the reason for that is because once the boss is available to attack and I immediately click on the first tick, it's going to drop a poison right underneath me on this tile, which is going to mean that I get dragged to here. I'm safe from the poison. And then once you deal enough damage to take him to phase 4, and he teleports you in, he always brings you to this tile. So starting on the east side avoids us having a higher chance of having poison underneath you when he teleports you in. Bringing us into phase 4, once he teleports you in, you must move back only 2 tiles. So this is the tile I move back to. And that's the point where his defense is lower, so it's good to spec him down as well. I'll start up a kill, and I'll explain as I go. I start off with hitting my Imbued Heart and Pray and Preserve just to maintain my higher magic stats the longest. Augury goes on, and I attack in. The XP you're looking for on combined XP drops with defensive casting is 183. So you can see we hit it. And we're just looking to deal that 183 XP drop to each of the shadows. That adds up to 50 damage. I can see the time is running reasonably low, so I'm going to restun the Sire since it's not even super far run back. And once I kill this last respiratory system, I'm going to prepare for phase 2. On a usual kill mid-trip, this is where I would teleport back to the playground house. However, for the entry kill, not required. At this point, once he moves off, I'll drink my Divine Super Combat and prepare to engage in battle. The first phase of the Sire is pretty simple. A nice max hit to start us off. I just generally stand still and attack the boss and look out for his animation. If he doesn't take a swing at me, I start moving because that's usually when the poison's coming. As you can see, we've got him down to half health. I'm going to retreat back to that southeast tile that I mentioned before and pray range. As soon as he's available to click on, I will. And I'll just start hitting him again. After the second attack, I just simply move here. Between attacks, it's important to move so the poison doesn't hit you. Switch to the claws. Drop both claw specs at this point. And then continue attacking with the Fang after that, if he's still alive. Collect the loot, and then we can immediately go again. The entry kill is really simple, of course, because you're going to be full HP, but I'm going to show you how every kill is just as simple as that now. Again, we start with a Shadow Barrage and turning on Augury, and then it's simply a case of attacking the respiratory system. That's not going to quite kill it, but that'll be the killing blow there. Again, I'm just watching my XP drops, hoping to add up to 183. I noticed that this is a fairly slow start in terms of damage, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast Shadow Barrage on the boss again. That's just to allow me to kill these back 2 respiratory systems without having to run through to stun again. As you can see, my prayer's running low, but it's not a problem. That'll be the kill there. So then I'll move on to the final. Oh, it didn't actually kill it. That's unfortunate. I'll run back and finish it off now. And there you see the Slayer XP drop, and it's straight back to the player-owned house. This is where the cozy method comes in. You just drink at the pool and go through the fairy ring. It's fairy ring DIP. And it's very simple. You just run back. You'll notice during the first kill that I did, there was a little bit of downtime where I was waiting for the Sire to spawn. This takes advantage of that by allowing me to refresh all my stats and my special attack energy for free. Well, I suppose for the cost of 1 house tab, if you wanted to look at it like that. It's a little bit slower than using ults to heal or even bringing food yourself, but it's a lot cheaper and a lot comfier as well. As you see, the Sire's waiting for me when I get back here. And I'm just going to attack him. There was the Scion spawn that I mentioned earlier. I'm just going to ignore him. All I'm doing is I'm watching my character's feet during this phase 2. That's in order to avoid the poison should it spawn. Very nice. We're going to stand back on this southeast tile and pray range at this point. As soon as he's available to attack, it will drop the poison spawn underneath me. There's the teleport. We drop both claw specs. I mean, this boss is a very rinse and repeat, comfy boss. There's not a lot of stress to it. Nice and easy. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. If you've any questions for me, please leave a comment below. Also in the description, I'll drop all my tile markers and the inventory tag tab code as well, so that you can just copy it straight from there if you'd wish. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful in any way, please feel free to drop a like to let me know. And if you'd like to see more content from me in the future, you know what to do. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.